Hi, preschool friends. We are going to make Play-Doh today, and we are going to do that by following what's called a recipe. A recipe is something that tells you all of the ingredients and all the steps you need to take to make something. Ingredients are the list of all the different things you need to mix together. The ingredient list for Play-Doh is salt, oil, cornstarch, food coloring, flour, and water. So the ingredient list will tell you how much of each item needs to go in your Play-Doh mix. And then we follow the directions that tell you how to mix it together. So the directions for the Play-Doh is to mix the salt, oil, water, and food coloring in a bowl, and then you slowly add the flour and cornstarch. So I'm going to show you some of the different tools we have to make our Play-Doh. We have our mixing bowl. We have a measuring cup that measures out liquid like water. We have a measuring cup that measures stuff like flour and salt. This tells me if I'm getting the right amount. It's very important to follow the recipe when you're trying to make something. And when we're mixing smaller things, we use measuring spoons. So when it says we need 1 teaspoon, we use a measuring spoon. And then we have our mixing spoon, so we can stir it all together. And I brought some gloves because I might have to use my hands, and I didn't want to dye them blue when I'm mixing together all the ingredients. So we are going to start by measuring out our salt first, because it says to do the salt first. So I'm gonna pour the salt into our measuring cup. It takes a while for salt to come out because it comes out of this little spout. And it says once you have the right amount of salt in your measuring cup, you pour it in your bowl. I'm going to shake it and try to get the salt to come out a little bit faster. Okay, now I'm going to pour all of it into my bowl. Next, our directions say to add the oil, and it's 2 teaspoons of oil. So I'm going to take my oil and my measuring spoon, and I'm going to pour very slowly 1, and very slowly 2. That's 2 teaspoons of oil. It's okay if you make a mess too, because we can clean it up when we're all done. Our next step is to add the water, and we needed 1 cup of water. Now I have 2 cups of water in here. See, it's filled up to this line that says 2 cups. So I need to measure it out and only pour 1 cup. So you have to stop and look. A little bit more. I think that's good. And then it says we can add our coloring, and I chose turquoise. I'm just going to put a little bit in because I don't want it super dark, but I want it to be pretty at the same time. You don't really have to measure your color. You can make it as dark as you want or as light as you want. So if you want it to be light, you just add a little bit, and if you want it to be dark, you add some more. Now our directions say to combine the ingredients, and combine means to mix them all together. So I'm going to mix up the flour, or the salt, and the water, and the oil, and the coloring. And then it says to start adding the flour. So here's my big bag of flour, and I'm going to open it up. And then I'm going to stick my cup right inside. And we're going to measure out. Ready for it? 1 cup of flour. And it says to slowly put it in because you don't want to put too much too fast because it might get too dry. And here's 2 cups of flour. And I'm not going to pour that all in right now. I'm going to use my spoon and I'm going to stir it up. Let me show you what it's starting to look like. See how it's turning blue? I think it's safe to add the rest of my flour because it's not too dry yet. So I'm going to dump the rest of my flour in. And it says we can add our cornstarch. And we needed 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. That's the big green one. 1 tablespoon. So I need to add 2 of these. 1, 2. Now I'm going to stir. And I think I'm going to go ahead and just stick my hands right in this. It's okay. And I'm going to mix it. Look, it's starting to turn into a dough. And that's what we want. You remember playing with Play-Doh, right? Did you get to play with Play-Doh at home? Sometimes moms and dads don't like Play-Doh so much because when you get really crazy and are having really fun with Play-Doh, it can get stuck in the carpet or on the furniture. And sometimes moms and dads don't really like that very much. But if you're careful with it and play with it at the table, it's a lot of fun. So here's our Play-Doh. And right now, our directions say to knead it. And knead it is when you do this. You get it and you squish it all together and it starts to make dough. Look, now I can squeeze it. I can roll it into a ball. And if it starts to get a little sticky, you can just add more flour. And you'll see when the recipe told me to slowly add in the flour, and I followed those directions, I don't even need all 3 cups of flour. I only use 2, and it's turning out good. So you can use that extra flour that they thought you might need in case it gets too sticky. So if it's too sticky, you can add more flour, and if it's too dry, you can add a little bit more water. And see, I didn't add very much coloring, so it's just a light green color. So you can add more. I'm going to post the directions along with this video, and you can make your own Play-Doh at home. Help your mom or your dad or someone else in your family follow the recipe, and maybe you can choose the color. Stick your hands right in it and don't be afraid to get messy. I can't wait to see some pictures. You can post them in the comments below. And let me know what color you chose and what you decided to make with your Play-Doh. I'm going to go have fun. See you next time.